Imagine a city where the streets transform into rivers with every monsoon season, where neighborhoods, once bustling with activity, are submerged under murky waters, leaving families stranded, businesses destroyed, and infrastructure paralyzed. This is Karachi, Pakistan's economic and cultural hub, fighting a persistent and devastating challenge: urban flooding. It's a story of mismanagement, environmental neglect, and the unrelenting force of nature. Urban flooding has become a recurring tragedy in Karachi, leaving residents to brace themselves for disaster every monsoon season. The 2020 floods stand as a grim reminder of how unprepared the city is for such events. That year, torrential rain wreaked havoc, turning streets into waterways and low-lying areas into reservoirs of stagnant water. Thousands of homes were destroyed, lives were lost, and millions were left grappling with displacement and disease. Beneath this crisis lies a deeper, more systematic problem: a city bursting at its seams with inadequate infrastructure to match its rapid expansion. At the heart of Karachi's flooding issue is its severely underdeveloped drainage system. The city's stormwater drains, designed decades ago for a much smaller population, are now choked with debris, garbage, and plastic waste. Karachi generates over 12,000 tons of solid waste daily, much of which finds its ways into these drains. As a result, even moderate rainfall overwhelms the drainage system, causing water to overflow into streets, homes, and businesses. During the 2020 floods, key urban arteries were submerged, cutting off critical supply routes and halting daily life. Karachi's rapid and unplanned urbanization has exacerbated the problem. Over the past few decades, the city has grown into a sprawling metropolis with a population of over 20 million. Natural waterways, known as nalas, once formed a network of drainage channels that allowed rainwater to flow into the Arabian Sea. However, these nalas have been encroached upon by informal settlements, illegal constructions, and commercial developments. Many have been entirely blocked or reduced to narrow streams, unable to handle the heavy flow of rainwater. The Gujar Nala, for example, has seen massive encroachments, turning what was once a vital flood channel into a bottleneck for water accumulation. Efforts to address these problems have been initiated, but remain insufficient. In recent years, the Sindh Resilience Project has been launched to invest in flood protection infrastructure and promote disaster risk reduction in urban planning. Additionally, international urban planning models, like the concept of sponge cities, are being explored. Sponge cities use permeable materials, green spaces, and water retention basins to absorb and channel rainwater. However, these concepts are still in their infancy in Karachi, and their implementation faces significant hurdles due to the city's political and bureaucratic challenges. Another pressing issue is the lack of coordination between various government bodies. Karachi is governed by a complex web of federal, provincial, and local authorities, often with overlapping responsibilities and conflicting priorities. This fragmentation has hindered the development of a comprehensive flood management strategy. Infrastructure investments are often piecemeal, with little focus on long-term solutions. For instance, while some nalas have been cleared of encroachments, these efforts are sporadic and often reverse due to poor enforcement. The human toll of Karachi's urban flooding is devastating. Beyond the immediate displacement of families and destruction of property, the floods have long-term social and health consequences. Stagnant floodwaters become breeding grounds for waterborne diseases, such as typhoid and dengue fever. During the 2020 floods, Karachi saw a surge in malaria cases, overwhelming the city's already strained healthcare system. The combination of flooding and the COVID-19 pandemic created a dual public health crisis, exposing the city's lack of preparedness to deal with such compounded emergencies. Despite these challenges, Karachi's residents have shown remarkable resilience. Community-led initiatives have emerged, focusing on local solutions to mitigate the impact of urban flooding. For example, residents in flood-prone areas have begun building rainwater harvesting systems to reduce runoff and store water for future use. In some neighborhoods, efforts are underway to create man-made lakes or reservoirs that can serve as both flood control mechanisms and water supply sources. These grassroots movements highlight the creativity and determination of Karachi's citizens in the face of adversity. Climate change looms large over Karachi's future, adding urgency to the crisis. Scientists predict that the intensity and frequency of monsoon rains will increase in the coming years, making urban flooding an even more pressing issue. Karachi's outdated infrastructure is ill-equipped to handle the escalating impacts of climate change. Without significant investments in sustainable urban planning and flood resilience, the city will continue to face catastrophic floods year after year. Karachi's battle with urban flooding is a story of a city at a crossroads. The challenges are immense, but the potential for change is equally significant. Addressing this crisis requires more than just clearing drains. It demands a holistic approach that combines modern infrastructure, effective governance, community involvement, and environmental stewardship. Karachi must reclaim its natural drainage channels, invest in climate-resilient infrastructure, and foster collaboration among its diverse stakeholders. The question remains, will Karachi rise to the occasion, or will its streets continue to transform into rivers with every monsoon? The answer lies not just in the hands of policymakers, but in the collective will of a city that refuses to be submerged. Only through bold and decisive action can Karachi hope to emerge stronger, safer, and more resilient in the face of its flooding crisis.